Being that it's 6:30, we have a quorum. I will call the meeting for the Conservation Commission for March 6th open. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 20th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And with any luck tonight, we can move this along because we have no new hearings. So, continued hearing. 102 West Center Street. Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, you might have to make an adjustment, yep.
Hi, my name's Dave Clinic from Collins Civil Engineering Group. I'm here on 102 West Center Street for a modification to the existing order of conditions. And I apologize for not being here at the last meeting. That was completely my fault. I completely spaced it, so. I appreciate
Happens.
that the board had continued it and that we can be here tonight. But anyways, tonight I have in the audience Tom Kennedy. He is the owner of the property. And I just wanted to, this plan that I brought in tonight, it's the one that you had seen before, but I made just slight changes so that you can see what was approved on the last modification, which was done in 2015. And the slight change that I made to this plan was to show you that there's a 20-foot easement back here, and the 25-foot easement were agreed upon for the 2015 approval. And that easement is supposed to be recorded in the Registry of Deeds. And Mr. Delano had sent me the conservation easement outline for the registry. And I did draw up an Exhibit A for this paperwork, which reflects this 20-foot and 25-foot. And basically, it's a no-touch, no-mow, no-enter zone, according to the agreement of the easement. This has not been put in the registry yet because work hasn't commenced and we're still making modifications. So, from 2015, but based on that and the approvals herein, this would be submitted to the Registry of Deeds.
So the plantings haven't been done yet either?
The plantings haven't been done, and the easement hasn't been filed at the registry. But that was what it was approved, and that wasn't on the old plans. So just to bring everybody up to date on what was approved in 2015, I wanted to add everything to this plan to show that those were the circumstances under which they were approved. So I got a letter from John, and it just kind of basically outlined some of the things that the board had concerns about. One is the ruts and the access to the back of the storage or the garage or basement area here. One would be the removal of all the lawn clippings that are back in here. And the other one is, of course, the 50-foot buffer. Can we do in and out of it, and how do we want markings based on that? So I think those were the 3 points of interest for the Conservation Commission. And I would like, what I did is I added some as-built information here to this plan so that the board could see what we've done. And part of the as-built information is the retaining wall that was built here and retaining wall that was built here. Between these two retaining walls, we've infringed on the 50 about a third of what was approved. We've been able to back everything out with the grading. As far as the grading is concerned, we removed about a third of it from the 50-foot buffer by building these walls. This wall was approved in 2015, and the wall was basically just to move the grading outside of the 50 a little bit and to gain access to the basement. So and I know that there is an issue, and Tom's here to discuss that with you tonight, about the access to the basement and what the board would like to see, and maybe Tom could tell you a little bit about how he uses it and what he does with that portion of the property. So at this point, I'm just going to let Tom talk about, a little bit about what he proposes for the property and how he uses it. I'd like to say that we would like to continue using the basement. We would like to fix that problem with the ruts back there. And there's a simple fix with a stone tracking pad. But that would be, there are other options too. But right now, I'll just let Tom give you an update on what his idea is for the property.
And is this gonna be our final plan?
Well, model septic, model land, yeah.
Yeah, there's
It's-
no more land to be had.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to deal with this as one package at the beginning all at once and not be piecemealing it back and forth and here and there. And
Well, yeah,
it's-
this is the third modification, and just the first one was a mirror image of this back in 2011, and then we did two in 2015, which we put the building up against this existing new building, and then we just pushed it off 30 feet. So that's our last one. So those are the three modifications that have been going through. So I'll just let Tom talk to you about what he uses that garage, that basement for, and how he'd like to access it.
If using it isn't a problem, how he's gonna get there is.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna get there with the new plan?
Well, okay. I just want this so I can go.
Yeah.
Is that what you just want me to address that?
Yeah, just start with that one and, cause that seems
Okay.
like it's gonna be
Well, I'm gonna go back to the original plan. The original plan, when we built this addition, we showed a garage door and it came up in the meeting here. And I was questioned on that. And I said, I need a garage. There was a drive-under garage in the building we were tearing down that Diane owned. And I thought since it was there, I could put it there, because I need a garage for my work to store stuff, and I have 2 classic cars I store down there. And, you know, everybody said, okay, yeah, it was on the existing building, no problem. So we went forward with that. And then the ruts became a problem, which I brought to your attention by going to John and asking him. I said, John, can I put a stone driveway in the 50-foot no-touch? I assumed, you know, there was something that could be worked out. People build in conservation and replicate it elsewhere. And John said, no. Why? And I said, because between the water that comes out for the parking lot drainage that seeps all year, not so much in the summer, but still does, and the fall and spring, it turns muddy and there's ruts. And every year I have to flatten it back out with my Kubota and reseed it and try to grow grass. So he said, well, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just kind of doing on memory. John said to me, well, you have the right to mow it, you have the right to drive over it. If it's less intrusive for the board to let you put in a driveway than it is driving over the grass, they might allow it. Why don't you go in front of them? And I don't know if you remember when I came in front of you. And the board approved doing it. The reason why we didn't put it on the modification was because I wanted to put a stone or a processed driveway, and everybody approved it. And at the end of the meeting, Tim said, I'm not real crazy about stones. I would like to see pavers that you put down where grass grows up through them. And at that point, I said to Dave, you know, not knowing that, you know, under the assumption that you could drive on it. Now I'm finding out now maybe you can't. I don't know. So under the assumption I can drive on it, I said to Dave, it just went from a $2,000 driveway to a $15,000 driveway. If I got the right to drive over it, forget it. I'll drive over it and fix it every spring. So we never put it on the last modification. So basically, I need to get to it if there's anything we can work out. I mean, I have 2 cars there. I work. When I did Barrett's Ale House up the street, I had 100 televisions in there stored until I was doing, and I can't really. I need to get the truck down there to get stuff. And I've been pretty open about it since we started the building.
How would you get there with the new plan?
Well, I would like to put a stone driveway around back to here.
From starting where? At the main entrance at the end of the new building? Where the
Probably-
parking lot is?
Probably where the parking lot is, yeah.
It can be done.
I mean, that's a lot of driveway through a 50-foot no-touch. What do we got for replication area on it? I mean, I know we've maxed out the site, almost. I mean, there's
Yeah.
not too much left. That's our concern, is that, yes, it's previously disturbed, yes, it's a lawn area, so
Yeah.
we're not gonna take that away from you. We're not gonna take the shed away from you that was in the 50-foot.
Yeah.
That's already there. But
Yeah.
improving it or making it more of an impervious or more non-grassy area has gotta be something that we can get back size-wise or making that up. And that's why I was suggesting when we looked at it, doing something with the blocks or something, so you had some stability, so you could get through it, but it wasn't going to make it non-grass or total gravel or asphalt, or
Yeah,
looking at that, knowing that it's going to be a continual problem because of the way the drainage is and the
So,
material on the
if
site.
we put total stone there, that's not pervious enough?
I mean,
I
I'm
would
just
think
looking.
it's more pervious than blocks, the grass.
Yeah, but I don't know the stability and whether that site's just gonna, you're gonna be putting more stone in and more stone in and more stone in
Yeah, I
without
think,
excavating the whole thing.
Well,
and-
if I do the blocks to sustain the weight of a car, I believe I'd have to go down, you know, and kind of put something base under there to hold those blocks. Are they gonna crack and break?
even if you put stone, he's gonna need to excavate it out, bring in good clean gravel so that water can pass through it, and build up the elevation of that gravel base so that the stone base that he's gonna put on top of the gravel will have some support. Now, they can use geogrids, a geotextile geogrid
Yeah, they have
to
plastic geogrid.
put underneath it, and that would act like a snowshoe does in snow. It distributes the load from the wheels of the vehicle that he'll drive in through there, and spread that weight out so that he doesn't have to put as much stone down as he would without it. But that's up to them. But we would need to have a plan that would show that and how much disturbance, and then he's got to work out a way to, because you do have this bylaw for no, and your policy is that no new construction can occur in the 50-foot buffer, they're going to have to restrict the use on other parts of that property to justify your granting it, because otherwise, everybody else is going to come in and say
Well-
the same thing.
That's right. We're asked all the time to do that, for people to do that, and once you open that box, you know, it's,
We could do a 2, maybe even 3-to-1 mitigation area on site.
Can you
Which would
point out
occur-
where that would be?
It would occur between the 50 and the wetland. We could contribute that whole site to a mitigation area, which would probably make it close to a 3-to-1 mitigation area for a 12-foot driveway, including the amount that we have not disturbed or not graded into based on the retaining walls. I think it would definitely be about a 3-to-1
Look.
for a driveway.
I just want to,
3-to-1,
Clarify.
30 square
Within the
foot driveway,
wetlands.
would give them 3 square feet
for 50,
of
right?
mitigation, which is why. This is mitigation. Yep.
so
It's not a, yeah.
I believe that this was worked out, this restricted area here was worked out to compensate for them disturbing this much of
That's
the
right.
50-foot buffer.
That's right.
So in order to now
Well, actually,
have a driveway come out of here and run all the way back, then something else has to give. So that's what the discussion.
What's below the existing parking lot there? Can you access?
Right here?
Yeah.
no, actually, John, I talked to John about that, and John was willing to let me do that because that was area we were already disturbing, but it just didn't work. It was too steep. We tried it for like a whole day and a half with machinery to get some way that I could drive down there and turn in, and
Now, if we're looking in the, you said there's a lot of runoff and drainage from the upper parking lot just seeping through all the time.
Yeah, we have, it's designed with a small pipe to drain the large area over time. It sits 2 feet above the water table, but the pipe just runs, it's small. It's small, it releases very slowly.
it only is allowed to release so many gallons per
Yeah.
minute.
And
So can you show on the commission on that plan where that location is
Yeah.
and where the water drains to?
I have this one right here. So here's the pipe coming out. And the water just drains across the grass into the wetland area.
So the driveway would have to have some type of culvert system to allow that to go through. If you do allow him to put a
We
driveway
could
in.
certainly put in maybe a perforated pipe across there to allow it to go through inside the stone driveway.
Is there something there that filters the drainage before it hits the wetlands? Like that's
Well,
the cut there?
They have a stormwater system under the parking lot,
Okay.
and then this pipe that they're talking about is the excess that,
Okay.
after it's been through that system, it comes out. It just doesn't discharge everything.
Right.
It holds back.
To the right of
The building.
the existing
buil-
building, which is the second.
And I see the
Yeah.
parking lot, yeah. What's to the right? No, down further. No,
There's an area in between that'll be,
Right there,
no, over here. Keep going back
This
to
way?
your original building.
the original building's here.
Yeah, now come down.
Yeah.
That area between that building and
the property line.
and the property line.
What's there?
Can you get around the building there?
If I took the tree down, I could. There's a stairway here. I
Yeah.
can actually get around there. When this gets too mucky, I actually do get around there.
There would be a lot less disturbance there than coming all the way across from the
There
other
certainly
side.
would be, yes.
The only problem is, and
It's-
it's obviously anything I have to do, I have to do.
60.
The only problem is that's the handicapped spot for the upper parking lot that I would have to drive through.
Let's
So
say,
somebody in that spot, I really can't drive through there.
And I'm not sure what the setback is.
It's not big enough.
I'm not sure.
And can you actually make swing, if you're taking a vehicle in and out, is that what you have there, some older vintage cars?
Yes.
Do you have enough room for a radius to get around there?
I'm not gonna-
I mean, I know you can access it
I don't know if we can make the turn though.
with a small
You'd still have to
equipment
go
and
here.
other things, but is
I
it?
think,
got a
yeah,
wall
I
here,
think,
too,
I get my
so-
van and my plow.
Oh, you
truck
do?
around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility of moving the handicap parking area?
There really isn't. I mean, it would have to be a spot. I mean, I've learned throughout this project that I don't think the town requires enough parking per square foot. I'm so tight on parking now, I can't lose a spot. I've got the exact number of spots I need, and it's tight now with the amount of tenants I have. Gets full a lot.
And what is that building way over here on the far right-hand corner?
This?
No, way
That's
over
the little
yeah.
shed,
That's
yeah.
a shed that's been there forever when Diana owned it.
And you still use that, correct?
I store stuff in it, yeah, I do.
How would you be gaining access to the shed while we're looking at this? We might as well put that on the,
I don't drive cars to it. I drive lawnmowers, Kubotas. I just drive right over the grass and into
right
it.
over to it
Yeah.
and then out of.
Yeah.
So-
I know.
We're trying to get
Yeah,
an access to the back, to the garage, and try to figure out how to put a driveway or some type of
either here.
a solid surface to get to the back, so it's not being constantly rutted out.
I mean, I guess once I get to here, I can get out of the 50. So I don't have to go all the way to there. It'd be nice if it was more of a straight
The
shot.
driveway that you're putting in, how wide would the driveway be?
12 feet?
Yeah, probably 12
10
feet.
feet if we,
Just enough to get in so I'm not, mucking everything up.
So if the
It's too
commission
steep.
let you put the
Yeah.
driveway in, and it was properly designed and so forth, what areas would you then restrict with a conservation easement and not disturb, including mowing?
Including mowing? Well, I need to get to the shed, so I need to mow something to the shed. I mean, anything there, to me, is useless. It's 50-foot no touch. I park my trailers there because I just think it looks better, but in the letter, I mean, we wanted to address the parking. I have no problem getting them out of there. I just thought that it looked better than sitting in the
How
field.
big of a drive, or, driveway or whatever, from the shed to basically the new part of the
From here
building,
to
which you
here?
need?
From the shed?
Yeah, from the shed.
I don't need the driveway from the shed.
No, but I mean, if you're gonna access the shed, how big of a
An access with,
width would you
Oh,
need?
to mow, you mean, to
Or
get to it?
just to drive, like you said, the Kubota,
Probably just as wide as the garage door that's on there, which is what, 6, 8 feet?
6
I don't
feet,
know.
yeah, 5 feet.
I mean, there's nothing,
nothing.
We'd have to
nothing
show
big.
that, yeah.
Right. You just have
Yeah.
So if you,
I mean, if you're putting a driveway down along the construction easement, why not give them everything up to the edge of
This
the
can't
driveway
be
or
moved.
within,
is there? So-
you know? If you have a driveway coming through
And he
here,
just doesn't want to give up that
Yeah.
many
we could
spaces.
give this
I will
whole
admit, he can
area
do
up to the
and
driveway,
planning
or
board
within
would have
5
to
feet of the driveway,
move, so we'd have to-
as an easement,
I mean,
and then bring it down here around the shed
I
and
just don't feel
all
good
this. I
about
mean, that would
that.
create
I really don't.
a real buffer zone to the wetlands, and it would also create something that somebody else couldn't come in and mitigate on their own property, say 5 to 1.
And I'll give you the river, because I don't want it.
So,
That-
I
It
mean,
butts your land, you want the river, you
the
can have
more,
it.
the more square footage, per square footage that we can give you, the less likely it is that someone's gonna be able to come in here and do that again on their own property.
If they give us all this. Of course, whatever
Yeah.
this driveway
And-
is.
I mean, you've got about
Everything
30
else-
feet there.
You
if
could-
only
you could
need
live
a
with that,
10-foot
Tom?
driveway.
I could live with what?
With what David just said?
If we put a driveway in, anything,
Anything to
Anything
the,
beyond
to
it
the wetland
is
side of the driveway.
no
would be-
longer mowed?
Or say
no-
5 feet off the driveway. anything.
no longer mowed, it's fine. Do I have to do plantings? I mean,
No.
that's gonna be
Well-
expensive. By the time I build a driveway and do plantings, that's gonna get.
that's something, it should grow back, right?
It'll grow pretty fast, because
Yeah.
that's
The
wet.
field will grow
Yeah.
fast there.
Field
Yeah,
grow.
remember when she moved out when I bought it? I tried to get
Yeah.
somebody to come in and mow it, I couldn't.
But that would be a tremendous square footage.
And it'll be back to natural, the way it would normally be.
And then
I'd be fine
still
with that.
allow an access to the shed?
basically
Yeah.
gaining.
Just big enough for
Can't
what
do
you need for the
anything.
shed.
Yeah, 10 feet.
Yeah.
Anything
Now,
else?
the
Whatever
area, I have
they
a
wouldn't
question. The areas that are outside the 50 that are
They
grass,
just stop mowing.
I mean, I can park stuff there, do
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that, right? That's,
Yep.
even though it's grass, I'm,
Just let-
does that have to stay grass?
Driveway in, we'll take everything here and.
Well,
From this way past the
He
driveway.
told me not to ask this question. He's
He's
getting mad at me right now.
When you make,
When you
when you make
I mean, there's
You gotta
nothing he's
run
gonna do there.
impervious
It runs off.
surfaces,
Okay, that's fine. So it stays
then you gotta
grass.
deal with the stormwater some way, so.
Okay.
At least you're gonna
I
get-
told him he was pushing the envelope.
He told me, he said, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah, increase, better.
Right now,
Meaning we own
Hey, you don't know if you don't ask.
Hey, true.
So in other words, the signs we could put up, or, you know, if we put the driveway in and then maybe give a 5-foot grass strip, and then start the no-touch zone, we could put the signs up right along that no-touch zone.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable to have a grass strip along the edge of the driveway to mow and keep it trimmed
Yeah,
down.
just to keep the stuff off the
it. Just
driveway.
coming out.
No, I think what he wanted is
Remember that.
8 foot.
That'd be a good idea.
So we have an easement here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we could adjust our easement for our exhibit plan and for the registry.
I'd be fine with that.
But you can't come in again and put another.
Yeah, no more buildings after this, unless you're moving the shed out. to
Trust
the-
me, I'm
to-
never
to
buying
the
another
50
piece of
foot.
property near conservation. area.
Is there a possibility of moving the shed? Is it a large shed?
Oh, I would-
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's big. I looked into that and it's big and heavy.
Oh, okay.
I asked him that many, it seems like years ago now,
It
but
was years ago.
You'd be better off to burn it before you moved it.
Yeah, it's big. It's like a house. She
Oh.
built, whoever built that did a pretty good job.
Okay.
I mean, I think finding an improvement to get to that garage is definitely a benefit versus just keep putting your ruts in it and having to reseed it, re-smooth it, and I think with the weather patterns we're in for, it's gonna be a lot wetter, longer, so.
True.
And if we can figure out a way to get that drainage to help so it doesn't drain just kind of down the whole.
We can put the driveway in, take an easement here, around the shed.
Because you really, to get to the shed, you'd just come in from the new parking area.
Yeah, well, I would probably, come from either, if
From-
this is all gonna be grass, I'd come
Right, so
from
just-
here to there.
Yeah.
Well, you don't really want to cross a parking spot, so you probably go on the back.
Right, come off the end of it,
Yeah, and then
kind
just
of,
go
and
right
just,
to it.
yeah, do a,
Yeah.
And I just wanna be able to
Yeah.
get to that and quite honestly, just mow around it
Right, to keep-
because, just to keep the moisture and everything from rotting the wood.
So you can, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just come off the proposed driveway that we show and just do a
Right, and
straight
just do
line right to it, and then all be grass around.
think we could make something work with that if we,
I'd like to see what it looks like, what the driveway
yeah.
would look
Yeah,
like.
well, I'll do a cross-section of both the drainage, for the drainage problem and for the driveway itself. And I'll show you exactly the location of the driveway and then the mode area. And I'll also put on the next meeting, I could also put on the amount of area that we're gonna keep as a no-touch zone.
Mm.
And then give you whatever the square footage is to what we disturbed.
Okay,
I think it's
like
gonna
that.
be like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 to 1.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah.
frankly, not that excited with the proposal, but I understand what we're trying to do here.
Dealing with the roof drains and the runoff from the new proposed building, I know you addressed the parking lot with
Yeah.
the stone around it. Where are the roof drains and,
The roof drains are gonna go, right here. I believe.
Yeah, right.
new
Um,
development?
I think, let me just make sure. Yeah, this is it. The roof drains are gonna go into our existing drainage system under the parking lot, and it's all gonna be gravity fed. And I did do some calculations to show that, we have the volume to hold it. But the roof drain's gonna come off the back of the center of the building and tie into the existing roof drains on the building.
On the
And it's all gonna be gravity fed, so there's gonna be, everything's gonna be underground, unseen.
What's the size of the new building compared to the other?
We're gonna fill that area.
What's the
We're
size
filling
of,
this area.
what's the size of the new building gonna be compared to the one
It's a
that was?
garage here
put up
too,
not too long
though.
ago.
It's just under
It's less than half. The one I put up is 30 by
the
71.
big garage.
And
This
the new one is 30 by
Wonder if
30.
it's
30 by
going
30.
under
Okay. So it's smaller, okay.
this side.
So that mound that you see that goes down from the gas meters, we're just gonna carry that across to get our bury on our roof drain and anything else that we need to get over there.
So there's gonna be like 2 roof drains?
Just one, it's gonna come off the center of the back of the building. So if it goes this way and this way, we can run our gutters to the back,
Okay.
run it down.
So, yeah, 2
Yeah.
into 1, yeah.
What prompted you to go 31 feet from the other building? Is that,
30 feet is the building code for
That's what it
the
is.
fire chief.
Yeah, if I
And I always like to give myself a foot, because you never know who's gonna stake it out.
if I attach it to this existing building with the new laws, I have to sprinkle both buildings.
and the garage is above ground?
The garage
Yes.
would be above
ground
ground, but
level.
at ground level.
Okay.
Everything is slightly pitched just away from the garage.
Well, I guess we'll look at, see what it looks like.
think, anything else on that, John, or we
No, I think,
address the cleaning up the backside and,
Yeah, the grass clippings.
Yep.
Diana used to put them there. I kept putting them there. I'll get them out of there. That's not a problem. Parking of the stuff next to the shed, no problem. Planting.
The signs for the no-touch area, they won't be 50 feet, but there will be signs for a no-touch area that we have to come up with that will somehow satisfy the board.
yeah, we can expand the sign
the
because
distance.
it's all along a linear line. I think we can expand it out between them. Don't need every
Okay.
50 feet.
Okay.
So propose that when you revise the plan,
Yep.
where you think you want to have those go.
Okay.
And again, I think it's reasonable because of the linear is a regular line that's obvious. You could stand at one and maybe cite 2 more, and you're completely gone along the whole edge of the easement. So I don't think you need as many as you do when there's an irregular line for an easement. People get lost and they start skipping.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I don't think you need as many. So propose something,
Yeah.
Okay.
and if it needs a slight modification at the end of this, we can word that in the order of conditions, if they approve it.
All right.
All right, we can get that for the next meeting and,
Yeah, absolutely.
20th.
The 20th. I'll get it done as soon as I have it done. I'll send it in to John. Should be about a week before the next meeting.
all right, that sounds good, then I will entertain a motion to continue to the 20th.
Motion to continue to the
Second.
20th.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Well moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, good night.
457 South Main.
Present. Good evening. Last time we were here, first of all, Bob has a family man that came up and he had a attention, so he couldn't make it tonight. But I am really hoping that we can wrap this up and try to get some of the work, like the cutting, done for the winter. Page 1 is basically the existing site condition, and on page 2, the second sheet of kind of based on the discussions that we had last time. Right around that stone wall in the rear building to the west of it. You can see that little corner there by the button property that John had asked so that we make it a sweep. And then also extended this area, so we cut back this gravel here on so I cut this back. This was squared off like this before, so I added this piece here.
Yep.
And that's what we talked about, and hope that we can get the commission's blessing to move forward and get it done and try to wrap it up and come and get a certificate of compliance for it.
John, I know you've seen the plan.
Yes, yep. What I feel that this addresses what we discussed at the last meeting. What I also have put in my report to the commission members is that I'm recommending that the area that lies between what you're proposing to do with the gravel parking and these planting areas become a conservation easement so that it restricts the access to the rear part of the property. And the difference between this and some of the other ones is we know that there's some upland areas on the other side of that stream. And it's been flagged and located in previous plans. And so we know that there could be the potential of them wanting to, them being the owners, to do something in the rear part of the property. So that the easement would be written that would allow the owners to come back to the commission at a future date if they desire to do something out there. And the conservation easement could be amended to whatever that wording needs to be to allow, if it's an approvable activity, allow the owner to go back out there and not forever restrict them from using that land. But I think without some type of conservation easement, the commission would have no knowledge of whether somebody's doing some activities out there unless we go out and periodically check. And as you probably know, there's so many parcels in West Bridgewater and there's only so much time in the day. It's impossible to monitor them all.
Especially where there's been so many plans of alterations to this project from the beginning, that we have 4 or 5 different copies that show different crossings and different access, and some of it was a proposal, and then it was taken off, and then it was on.
It would, if I'm reading it correctly, you can't get here without crossing the wetlands.
Right.
So
Putting that
I
actually
guess
into
you
it.
could do it, but you'd be in violation.
Right.
Right.
And it would be up to us to find it.
Okay. What
But with a
is-
conservation
there
easement,
What would happen? The building department would see that and
It would be flagged.
it'd be flagged. Okay, yeah, I like that.
So, so what is the language of the, this is not rising to the level of restriction order? Are we talking, because I don't think it would be appropriate to put a restriction order on a property.
no, this would be a conservation easement that the owner would agree to and sign over to the commission and get recorded.
Saying that we have allowed access to go out there when we want.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be, I would imagine that would be, I mean, you already have that authority to require of, under the Wetlands Protection Act.
I guess you probably didn't hear what I said, and it's that we don't have time to go out and monitor every piece of land in West Bridgewater.
Yeah,
So by putting this on here, it puts the burden on the owner to comply, not just with the Wetlands Protection Act, the wetlands bylaw of the town, but his own agreement with the commission to restrict the use of that land. And this conservation easement would be different because we understand that there is some upland on the other side that that owner would have the right to ask for an amended conservation easement to get recorded. That would allow him access with a permitted project.
okay, I would imagine then that will not be, I just don't want to impose a restriction on the guy if we flag.
No,
We
it's
haven't
not.
gone on the other side of the stream at all,
No,
okay?
right.
This
At
just
least I've been out there, I just want to
brings
make sure
attention to it. Yeah.
that, let's assume that he has, 2/3 of that is upland, I'm assuming, okay? Because it does, looking out there, it does rise on the back there. I just don't want to take away that right, so as
No.
long as,
Oh, no.
Right.
as long as
No.
the language is such that,
No.
if everyone he wants to do stuff, he comes back and work with you
Right,
on
as
that.
long as it's a permitted,
Yeah, then
Approval,
I
then,
think,
yeah.
he will not object to that.
Because if that wasn't, the plans that were on, that came in front of us about crossing that before, could they come back to us, say in another year and, hey, you guys approved it, or this is what could have been, and then we'd have to like,
Yeah,
Oh.
any of those other plans were never approved, so he can't.
okay, so they can't come back in front of us and say, hey, we did this before, and,
It would have to be a whole new project.
yeah, okay. But,
but in 12
They
years,
have-
when none of us are here, they can come back and say, yeah, the commission looked at this before, and this was a
but
plan
there
that
was
they were
interest,
thinking about.
there was
and
interest at time, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean there can't be interest at, again,
Later
in the
on,
future.
and a whole new group of us that aren't here, and our intent was,
But see, that's the other thing too, that it's, because you guys, all you sitting here, understand what you're hoping to accomplish. I think I want to live forever, but we all know we don't have that option.
Well, you'll be back,
Um,
you'll be back in
right.
12 years.
But what I'm saying is, things kind of start in good faith.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, somebody else comes in here, it becomes, well, that's not our interpretation of what the commission said, and then nobody that was on the commission at the time is there to verify what was said. The agent isn't there, and it becomes a legal issue. I just wouldn't want that entanglement.
right.
Of course not. Yeah.
So the way the commission handles it is they issue an order of conditions that allows the activities that you proposed here. And then it includes a special condition that states that a conservation easement that's mutually agreeable between the commission and the landowner be signed and recorded prior to construction. So that allows you and your client time to review the conservation easement. If you don't like it, you could ask the commission to reconsider the wording and change it around, and they could decide whether to do that or not. But it's mutually agreeable.
It will state that in the.
Yes, in the
okay,
special
yeah,
condition.
Okay.
So the way that usually pans out is that the applicant is happy with the wording, the commission's happy with the wording, and everybody can move forward, and there's no interpretation 20 years from now.
Okay, all right, then that's fine. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Now, just so you know too, I have not gone to that extent, but I believe that portion of Travis is both Bridgewater and West Bridgewater. So I have to check that too. 'Cause I don't know how much of that, being a notice of intent plan, I don't know if
Property line here.
yeah. Oh, okay, then we're good. We're good.
Anything else? No, then I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Now I'll entertain a motion to issue amended, or,
Yes.
yeah, we're gonna have to amend, an amended order of conditions on the existing conditions.
To include the
To
easement,
include the easement and work within the scope of the new plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And a 50-foot waiver.
Yep, and I will entertain a motion to grant the 50-foot waiver.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And the record will indicate that it's for the mitigation that's being shown on the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and working with us. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You have a good night now.
Good night.
Hopefully everybody's got their power back, right?
For a little while anyways.
Yeah, talk to us tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Okay. 254 and 256 Pleasant
Yes,
Street.
They've asked for a continuance that almost looks like forever,
Say
but
that
it's
again.
August.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So I do have a request for them. They are asking it for August 15th. So I will entertain a motion
To the 7th. They said 15th, but we meet on the
Oh, that's right.
7th.
So would they make it for the 7th, or do we want to go to
Well,
the
we
2nd?
can't go beyond because they only gave us to the 15th,
Okay.
so we have to go to the
All right.
7th and then.
I'll entertain a motion to continue to the 7th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Yes, gentlemen.
Hello.
They're here for 450 East Street
In 452.
and 452. Want to come up and explain what you want to do?
My name's Jack Stapleton, Tony DiMaggio. I live at 450 East Street. Tony lives at 452. I came by probably, 4 weeks ago, John?
Yes.
To speak about the process. I was told we have a gravel driveway. We're interested in putting in a paved driveway, asphalt. When I came by to see what plans existed already here, there was approval for the asphalt driveway. I was told by somebody upstairs in the building department that I had to speak to John and then perhaps meet with you. I sat down with John and explained what we had in mind. I don't recall the dimensions, John, but you have the diagram there. Tony would know. Tony has been at the property for how many years, Tony?
So, 3?
And I've been there just less than 3 years, so I think it's 12 feet or 14 feet wide now.
It's 12 feet.
12 feet. So we don't want to change the dimensions. We just want to pave what we have at this point in time. And we're here to make certain we're doing it the appropriate way. like,
Right, yeah.
And John has come out and looked at it and has a plan brought out.
So, here's East Street. I don't think,
Hold it on that, John? You do, and you can-
yeah, if you don't mind.
No, no. Move it up.
All right,
High enough for everybody to see?
so here's East Street, right through here. And 450 is the house here, and 452 is the house over here. And they share a common driveway that traverses through the existing wetlands got approved by the commission. I think the history shows that there was a lot of issues getting an approval, but eventually it was approved by the commission, and it included restoration areas that were signed off on with a certificate of compliance. And I think the only person's name on the certificate of compliance in 2006 was Lisa, if I'm not mistaken. And so,
Remember that? Yeah.
and so what they're proposing to do is to take this gravel driveway and pave it. And so my concern was, what does the driveway look like? How have they been maintaining that area through the wetlands? And they do have a number, at least one culvert, maybe two culverts, you know?
There is two
Culverts?
12-inch that are in the driveway, in the middle.
That pass out?
In the middle of it, and then at the street end,
No,
there's,
the purpose of putting in the driveway is because the house was being built? Was it a new house or no?
these houses were both, well, they were both built in '04.
They were new.
Okay, yeah, they weren't.
Bill Elliott was the original owner of the
If I
property.
remember correctly, it was the only
Yeah, yeah,
access
like
to those
Yes.
houses were
Was
crossing
through
over
the
that.
wetlands.
Crossing,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that was a problem, yeah.
And
It was a common
originally,
drive that got put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think originally it was proposed two separate driveways side by
Mhm.
side.
Yeah.
And eventually, all the issues were worked out where they were able to, and it appears as if it starts on one side of the property line and goes over to the other. So my concern was just how is it looking today? And I went out there on a dry day, a nice sunny day, and there's potholes all throughout the driveway. At that time, there was standing water in the driveway. I'm sure in the dead of summer, the only time you get the puddles is after a good-sized rainstorm. But during the normal cycle, every 3 or 4 days of rain, the puddles fill up, and then they drive over it, especially two families coming and going. They're splashing the muddy water that's silt-laden out into the wetlands. So I think it has merit. It's just, how does the commission want to look at a paved driveway versus a gravel driveway?
I'm in the same boat. I went through, before I got on the commission, and I have a 800-foot driveway that crosses, and it's gravel. And that's the restriction, it has to stay that way forever as part of my order of conditions. And I resurface it every 2 or 3 years. They come in, regrade it, put down new material. I'm not a fan of putting pavement through the wetland. If you can find another material that's not pavement. I just look at it that you're already filling in the wetland to begin with to create this. It's not a road, it's not meeting road standards, it's a driveway. So therefore, we don't have to have the drainage, we don't have to have all the treatment that a road does. It's a common drive for two houses.
But you could, now, is it used, it's just used for vehicles, not heavy equipment or anything like that?
No, I mean, I'll my boat,
Okay.
you know, trailers, I'll bring in,
What kind of trailers?
my boat trailers and stuff, snowmobile
Now you gotta get
trailers.
oil trucks in there.
Trucks,
septic
oil
tank
truck, yeah.
trucks, so it's gotta be,
Now, is there any kind of like a in-grade,
It's pretty level, it's pretty straight, you
say
know.
if you put, you're talking about putting a pavement, you could put berms on either side, that way nothing, it'll all drain out to the road. You can build it up a little bit for it all to drain. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Considering-
a long driveway, and I've seen, my friend has a house in East Bridgewater through conservation, and his driveway is double mine.
yeah.
And he has
That's
a
East
straight
Bridgewater.
shot, and there's no berms, there's no nothing.
Where is that?
East Bridgewater.
Yeah, no,
Behind Thatcher Street, off of, I think off of Summer.
Winter Street? No. It's over
Winter
there.
Street. You come off of
Up near the school.
Summer,
Yeah.
you take a left and then
Yeah.
around the bend, he's down there. And it's quite a, same situation I was through
Oh,
conservation. In East Bridgewater, they, no problem, put a paved driveway in, did all our reclamation for the conservation. It's just, the potholes do get to be a pain.
So that's the reason why you want to.
Basically,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
you have nice cars, you go down, you're tracking the mud into the house, into the garages. The water, and once it does rain, you beat up a pothole, it comes up and you know how the potholes are on the street.
I can understand what you're saying about, but if you gotta kinda keep up with the
You
the
do,
maintenance and not have, and stuff's going into the wetland anyways.
right,
Maybe more.
Oh, yeah, maybe more.
right,
Maybe the cleaner way would be paving it,
I think so.
but that's my opinion. If you can do it or not, I don't know if that's
I mean, the distance is
understand.
only like 250 feet. No,
I mean, I just wanna see treatment, if it's gonna be paved, I mean, and we're gonna go that route, this is gonna be a route we're gonna be doing a lot more of, because there's gonna be a lot more of these common driveways
Yeah.
because of the way the land and the property is in town. We need to really seriously look at how we require this, because it's not gonna be a
Mhm.
roadway. We're gonna have to have berms on the side, or stone,
Yeah.
or something to treat it. What can be put down for salt, for runoff,
Yeah.
for nitrogen, for phosphorus, for all the loading that's gonna happen, I mean,
What do you do now if it freezes?
Don't salt nothing. We don't salt, if it,
Yeah.
I mean, all I do is I go down the driveway with the plow and go straight out.
Plowing it and stuff's going everywhere anyways.
The berms is just not gonna work.
Berms would be tough for that.
It's gonna be-
Unfortunately, don't just plow it, but.
Yeah,
Well,
but I
these are-
mean, I think if something that did do that, I'd wanna see the berms
Yeah, it
because of the
would be a
water
Cape
runoff.
Cod berm, not a
Because there's gonna
molded
be-
berm.
A sheet instead of just a little bit, it's gonna be more of a sheet runoff and it's gonna,
I mean, you have a 12-foot driveway and you have a berm on either side. So it's not gonna pitch, we don't have drainage.
Well,
It's gonna puddle.
if the
gonna make
commission were to approve it, you would have to have an engineered plan. You just can't go and do it. You're gonna have to have it engineered to show how it will pitch.
yeah.
'Cause they
I
would-
mean, well, it would be, yeah, whatever, and then graded to,
Right. So tonight's discussion is just an informal to give you some feeling as
Yeah.
to whether they would be inclined to consider the idea. And if they do seem to be inclined, you still need to have a notice of intent filed. You still need an engineered plan so that it can be constructed the way they approve it.
Especially where they're going through the wetland.
and my other thought was, I know when I did it, I had to actually create a considerable wetland that actually pools and ponds to make this work where we went through. And the reason they said they didn't want it to be paved was because of the mitigation, that was part of it. That if you're all of a sudden paving this non-porous surface through a wetland, now where's all this water going? It's being shedding into the wetland, but you're not compensating for the drainage into it. Back when it was first approved. I mean, we gotta look at,
Is there like a spot where it goes over the wetland, like, is it like there's no stream area there, is
there
there?
is a stream in the middle of the driveway,
Okay.
and there's 2 culvert pipe that runs straight through.
3 or 4 feet tops. So the stream might be,
And when they say stream, it's intermittent, it dries up in the summer?
It's dead dry.
Okay.
And even the culvert at the end of, towards the street,
Because I'm
it's
trying
dead
to,
dry.
There's a country drain
yeah.
along that side of the street of East
Because
Street.
if up on Scotland Street, you got those houses that are there towards the 24.
Yep.
and all along the front,
And along the front there, there's like an intermittent stream there, and they got
The
the
culverts.
culverts
culverts
across
that
to
go over it.
equalize the,
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, so you do have that there.
Oh, yeah, it's all there, it was all done when this driveway was put in originally and signed off. So this driveway was signed off for asphalt, correct?
Hey,
In the plans, I thought it was signed off for a driveway,
Drive,
for a
driveway.
asphalt.
Let me see.
Was it asphalt?
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious as to why, when I bought this property, it was signed off for an asphalt driveway. And now that we kind of want to do it,
So that was the problem.
I think that was the
That was the
yeah.
problem, getting around that little ponding area there
Okay.
Should be on that plan somewhere, huh?
This plan just calls it a driveway, but I'll check and see if the order of conditions indicates anything different.
Through the file.
So you bought the house when this was,
I originally bought the property from Dick Elliott.
Okay.
He ended up buying it from a lovely lady that split up the property.
okay,
And Jim Moore was the original owner of the second piece of property,
We're at 450.
450. And he did all the, pretty much everything. I bought it with building permit.
If you, just as an aside, if you brought, and you probably have, brought Phil in from time to time, how often have you had to do that?
Oh, very. I mean, all I do is basically with the skid steer, I'll go in and just regrade it with this existing that's there.
Because even like
Like
doing that
you.
stuff with the skid steer, you'd have to have I mean, you just couldn't go out there and start doing the stuff in the wetland area.
Yeah, I mean, on mine, I just bring in, or hire somebody that comes in with a 10-yard truck once every 3, 5, actually, it hasn't been 8 years since the last time I did it. They just come in and regrade it, pretty much like he's doing now, smooth it all out, and every 3 years, that's what we've been doing. We haven't had to add anything to it,
Yeah, true.
and it
And
just
it's
smooths it out, and,
It's all
yeah, puts the
there.
crown back on it, and,
Yeah.
The grade is what it was from the get-go, right off the street,
Hmm.
right to the property.
So the certificate of compliance plan indicates that it was gravel when the commission issued the certificate. The proposed plan shows a cross-section of the roadway with the culvert and the road on top of it, and it shows it as a bituminous concrete driveway with 1.5-inch binder and 1.5-inch wearing course.
Which was signed off on.
That's proposed or
That was proposed.
only
What,
proposed?
and they didn't build it, and they got their certificate of compliance with this as-built plan that indicates that at the time that they were asking for the certificate, it was left as a gravel driveway, which does make sense with what I saw out there. Once they got outside the 100-foot buffer, each house has a paved driveway from that point on to the garage. So once they got outside the 100-foot, they did pave it.
And outside the wetlands as well, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So if you were to pave this rest of the area, and you're gonna want it to, the grade to be able to drain, even if you had the, binders on the side,
I mean,
you're gonna want it to drain. I mean, it's just the only, this is the way to do it, because you're not gonna want it to puddle up and have to deal with, you know,
Catch basins.
ice and all that stuff, and have to put salt and all that stuff, whether it's
right, which could be a hazard.
binder or not, no binder.
Correct. As far as like the rain that we've just had, it was over the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
It's draining either way.
It's literally going over the driveway,
Yeah.
through, coming down the street, through the existing houses that are there, through the conservation, over the driveway, through the other conservation, and into the neighbor's yard. So, I mean, it's flooded out.
Yeah.
I mean, it
sounds like
drains down.
those culverts
In the
weren't
summertime-
designed big enough to transfer the water.
But the street's coming, the water's coming from
Sure.
106. It's just coming right down. The whole area is just smoking.
But
It's
the
just
water front run along the side of the road.
Ryan and I were at the conference up at MACC this weekend, and we stopped at one of the exhibit tables, and they have this porous pavement. I don't know what the costs are, but maybe they could consider using this porous pavement. And what it does is it provides a solid surface so they wouldn't get the potholes and the silt being splashed over into the wetlands when they drive through it. It would allow the water to seep down through the porous pavement and into the gravel below.
Is that something new?
It would probably cost them.
Sounds like a,
It's
Porous
called a popcorn.
asphalt.
They call it a popcorn mix.
is that what it is?
But it's not asphalt.
It's not an asphalt?
No, it's not an asphalt. Now, there are what they call a popcorn asphalt paving, but this particular product that we saw is a composite material of some sort. It's not asphalt. And it definitely works. They poured water right on it.
Interesting.
But I don't know if it's cost prohibitive for these gentlemen to do or not, but it's at least an alternative.
I think at this point, it's gonna be a permit process. I think you need to find an engineer, have him take a look at it and say, okay, these are your options. I mean, if they can come up with some way to treat the runoff on the sides, I mean, if it's coming up with some type of a stone berm or something that maybe isn't an asphalt berm the whole way, or access points so every so often to let it drain out and treat it so it doesn't wash out or whatever, that you could put just stone, I mean, similar to the one we just dealt with, where they had to put in
Yeah.
some stone runoff spots.
The only
in the
place that
parking
would
lot.
work is on the house side of the wetland, which is away from the street and out at the street, so that it would go through that type of material into the country drainage that's along East Street. So it's workable, but those are the only two
Right,
places.
I mean, I'm not, that's why I'm saying it'd probably be.
Otherwise, I think they'd be filling wetlands
Because I
to
know
make those.
we got the new, like on Lincoln Street in South Elm, we got those houses coming in, and I know this driveways are kinda long. So we're trying to keep it, you know,
It's just,
consistent with everybody else that's just starting to put in, because we don't wanna get, you know, oh, you've done it for this one, you haven't done it for this one.
Right,
you know.
right. No,
We're just trying to be fair, that's all.
Correct.
we understand, we appreciate that.
And we want you guys not to have to deal with potholes all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it can be,
The biggest thing is the expense of this.
Yeah.
Sure.
On your side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big undertaking.
It's not
and,
cheap.
I've been like this for, since I've been there,
Right.
15 years.
Yeah.
Just
So,
get tired of it, yeah.
wife gets sick of it.
How many years have you been there, Tim?
2003, 4, that's when we put the house in. And we had to do underground utilities because we had to deal with National Grid and high tension lines. So ours are encased in concrete to get the utilities out to the house. So that's why we didn't even want to look at paving the driveway, because we'd already spent $40,000 putting the utilities in. And I said paving it isn't an option at that point.
You were probably the same boat back then, Tony, as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
mean, we
it-
had grid come in and they put in the poles, and then it was underground from there. The last pole to the houses.
Ours goes 1,000 feet back, all underground. So,
Well,
It's always a question of choices. Hate to say it, now that I'm 59, I view things differently than I did at 39. I don't have the same 30-year plan, so to speak.
And just like,
Yeah.
as of today, compared to 10 years ago, the bylaws have changed,
okay.
Sure.
considering, you know, all the new stuff too. So, I mean, we gotta follow
but I
those
mean, I
things.
think we can come up with something. I mean, it's,
Something on paper that we can
Yeah,
see,
we can see what-
because we're concerned about the runoff into the wetlands.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, and we did the right thing. When the conservation was done, it was done right and signed off. I mean, everything was done correctly. On the road, what would they want it? Crowned, flat, if they did? I mean, it's flat now and it's always been flat. You know, like the streets, they crown a little bit just to keep.
Right, I'm
I
thinking
think
you-
it needs a crown.
yeah, I'm thinking you're gonna want some type of, not a
Otherwise, you're
huge
gonna
one, I
have
mean, it's only a
city
12 foot
water
wide, it's
again.
not,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not wide.
right, it's not a
just-
double wide, I mean, and I'm sure you're not meeting that often, both of you,
Right.
coming in, going out at the same time, I mean,
Not
it's,
very often.
And it's not, you're not driving heavy equipment over it, so it's gonna,
yeah, it's not gonna,
Oil trucks,
Break them down.
you know, once in every couple of years is the septic.
Delivery
tank.
truck.
well, yeah,
Delivery
something like that, but
trucks.
this
Right,
isn't like
so-
a construction site.
Yeah.
Another option is to have it slanted from one side to the other side. Eliminate a berm on one side because of that, and just have one berm on the low side, and then have it
would
treated
it drain all the way out to the end then? Is that
both
would be
ways.
The plan?
So the road would have a hump
Yeah,
in the middle where it goes over the culvert, and
Yeah.
it would drain towards the house side of the property and the street side.
okay.
Then the road itself would be slanted in one direction. So this would be the
So
high
you run
side,
it
this
down
would be
that
the
way.
low side with a berm, and it would channel that water to either end of the road.
I mean, in a hump, you're talking a very gradual, I mean, it's not like
Yes.
having a big
No, very-
speed bump in the middle of it that you have to.
I honestly think that would be a problem,
What's
because
that?
the elevations of the houses, the water comes from both properties to the front.
To
So
the,
if you pitched it to the houses, not
Right,
even
when it
that
comes,
How
yeah.
far
the
from
field.
the culvert in is it? Quite
Yeah.
a ways.
Yeah, it's quite a ways in. You're talking,
It's
if
over
it's
250
250 feet, you're probably talking halfway.
So now it runs down the driveway?
Now, it's, yeah, if you had a hump, you would be causing more water issues for us.
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is, if I'm not mistaken, both of your houses are up pretty high.
They are. Well, ours is a little more.
His is more, but my garage is, oh, you know,
So the drop between your garage and where your blacktop ends right now, it drains,
3-4 inches,
okay.
maybe.
So that would be the design point for an engineer that's gonna draw these plans. And then a design point would be the hump at the culvert, and they would match it, and the water wouldn't keep going towards his garage. It would go off onto this stone area and drain away at that point. So that's what the engineer will get paid for, to make sure you don't get flooded.
Okay, and you should say stone area, it would come off the driveway.
And into a crushed stone pad that will treat the runoff, collect sediments, any pollutants that come off the cars as they go back and forth, and then drain out of there into the wetlands. There isn't a lot of slope there, I understand, but there's enough there to get it until you have these conditions where the whole place floods. Then you gotta drive through it, but, I mean, I didn't go out to see how it looked during this last rainstorm, but I'll believe you that it flooded. It makes sense to me, what I saw out there, that it's a very wet area that gets.
They get saturated from the existing properties around us, we're low through that front yard.
Do you have any trees come down?
I had a massive
Major
tree
one.
come down.
Huge pine.
Over the years, we've had them come down at the telephone poles. Yeah, I mean, the wind storms, I mean, there was massive winds this past storm that took that tree down.
And with the saturated soils, the
All
root
the pine
systems.
trees.
The pines
Yeah.
are-
Did that pine, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually a double
We
pine.
had, we had one pine found the whole back of the whole
Yeah.
properties. And that's the one tree, the
Wow.
shallow
Yeah.
root system, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is, jello. And it just.
And it's wet over there, it doesn't hold pine trees.
But it's wet, but
Mhm.
it held that pine tree for 75 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
High
held
winds.
it, so.
Yeah, but then it's been disturbed, so it kind of,
You put the houses in.
yeah, you put the houses in.
Took
and
all the
then
other trees down
the whole
around it and
working
opened
the
up a big
wetlands
space.
is ruined by
And
that.
believe
Let
it
the
or
wind
not,
come
not
in.
to be smart,
Yeah.
but that's
the point,
that's
yeah.
an effect of it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Makes
why we
sense.
try to eliminate that. but-
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to be fair with.
No, we appreciate that. We-
I mean, we appreciate you coming in and doing
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
the right way
time,
versus
yeah.
just
I mean, if you can find
doing it and then saying, oops,
other
we did
options than
it.
maybe the pavement, like John said, just just to look at them.
Yeah, so it's not actual pavement, it's not actual asphalt.
Compost, right? Compost.
The only thing
It's
is,
a composite surface.
the water would go through,
You wouldn't have plot.
but the problem, I would think, was when it goes through, is you wanna keep the base dry, correct? That's the idea of asphalt. So you don't have potholes to keep the base dry. So if it's going through the asphalt or through this composite, and it starts
You have to have
getting the
a,
dirt wet,
you have to have a well-drained strata below this composite. So that means that you probably take your gravel driveway that you have right now, put down a layer of permeable soil, a nice well-graded gravel of at least probably 12 inches. And then put the composite over it. And then what happens is the water goes down through the surface, composite material, into the well-graded gravel and leaches out. It won't probably go through your gravel driveway, because no matter what people say, a lot of gravel driveways, in order to support the wheel loads that are driving over it constantly, get so compacted it really doesn't leach much. And that's why when I was out there on a bright sunny day, there were still mud puddles in these potholes, because it doesn't drain. But it would hit that hard-packed gravel that you have there now and grow to the sides and out.
I don't know how much you would need under that composite, but I don't think you're gonna be able to go down too much.
A good 12 inches.
You
So
know,
it would be
you'd
building
on
it
top
up.
of You'd be on top of the culvert pipe at that point.
No, you'd be building it up.
From existing, where it is right now, existing, going, well,
And then you got the problem of the
So then
pitch.
you'd have, you couldn't, I don't think you could do that because of the grade. Coming
That's-
towards my property
Yeah,
and towards the street. I mean, right now it's.
That's, again, why you have the engineer
yeah.
come up with
Yeah,
a
you
different.
might be able to say, okay, you can take 6 inches off of what's there, put in that
They
6,
can
put in
model
another
it,
6, and
yeah.
then
Balance it out somehow.
and figuring out the pitch to the end of the driveway and towards the house
Yeah.
and go that. I mean, again, if it's cost effective. I mean,
You're right.
you may find out that this composite stuff is
I know, it's
like buying gold and it's just not gonna work for
remember
that
some-
length.
examples I thought was kind of easy. They use it on pool decks a lot because people kind of rise up. So right.
And if you're only doing a couple thousand square feet
Yeah.
versus
What John mentioned,
300-foot
Yeah.
driveway.
$1 gazillion. Not sure, but it was neat.
I'm gonna look into it. I'm interested.
right, so we have to decide if it's worthwhile from our point of view, but it sounds like the commission would be in favor of it if in fact we complied with what you suggested tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot more than you think. You just pave it and go.
I mean, a lot of people,
You have
I
to
mean,
look at
different towns,
engineering wise.
Little gravel and,
I mean, a lot of towns, West Bridgewater need your permit, like the paving guys come in, pave a driveway, do they need to pull a permit? Sometimes
Yes.
they do,
You
sometimes they
had a
don't.
problem with that at one time. They just did something and they didn't take it. They didn't take a permit or something. And I forget what it was.
I think it's a year ago now, the town passed a
So-
bylaw that any disturbance of greater than 5,000 square feet requires a application before the Stormwater Authority. So little by little, as the system starts to work, you will find that a paving company will have to check in with the town. So yes, there are other towns that don't have this, and the paving companies go in and they dig up the driveway and they lay down gravel, pave it, and away they go. In West Bridgewater, as the system begins to work, because it's, like I said, so new, some of them don't know this, but they will eventually know either by checking in with the town or being spotted, and we go out and say you don't have a permit, so you have to stop and get a permit. So this will be part of the EPA's Clean Waters Act requirements.
this is
and-
all new.
Yes.
That's how things have changed over the years, other than, since you've been there. on the
That's
property.
gonna be a massive job.
So you're saying a year ago I should have just paved it?
Well, that would have gotten you through at least that part of it, but the town bylaw and the order of conditions that are existing would have still been a problem. But I think,
It's a headache.
I mean,
It's what it is.
But you're doing it the right
Get
way.
a drawing done up, engineer recommendations, and come in, we'll open the hearing.
You don't want it to affect
I'm
you
kinda
guys.
against that, I would lean towards the asphalt, honestly, if it's worth it at all, I wouldn't. Cost effective, it's just.
Hopefully it'll
it's
work,
asphalt.
yeah.
It'll
yeah,
have to.
I mean,
But if you do it the right way, at least it's not gonna affect you guys in the long run without flooding in the house and, water coming back that way.
Yeah.
Right now,
It's fine.
no.
Fucking with- yeah.
It-
We're high
Except
enough,
for
not
when
as-
as much water as we've had, never had a problem with flood, drainage,
Yeah.
never. With the, I don't know, I don't know how it would work, but I'd be, if it flooded my basement, there'd be a problem.
Yeah. Then
So
that
What do
way,
you think?
Yeah, of course.
the engineer would be responsible for at least,
Yeah,
right,
coming back at us saying, you told us to do it.
Yeah,
They're
now
pretty
we
good
should-
though. you
I
know.
mean, yeah.
That modeling software is unbelievable.
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I've come a long way.
Right.
Alright, so the next step would be to get an engineer to look at it.
Yes.
Yep.
That'd be an option, yeah.
but I mean, it's not dead in the water. You can definitely, I think we're willing to, let's come up with a plan and.
Well, obviously, it's nice to know that ahead of time before we take those steps and go through the expense of it and
Yeah.
hear otherwise. We appreciate
Oh,
that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or get caught doing it and
Yeah.
then have to send everybody home
And be halfway through it and,
It's a different kind of headache as well, no doubt. That's why we're here.
awesome.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you all.
Thanks
Thanks
a
so
lot.
much, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Take care.
You had 225 South Street Borstal update.
Yeah, I haven't got out there to meet with him and just been straight out, so. I plan
Considering the
to-
weather and everything else we've had the last couple of
Did you
weeks.
say South Street?
I'll-
Did you say 225 or 255?
225 South Street,
That's our truck.
that's the trucking company.
It says 255.
Oh, did I put it down the wrong?
255.
Yeah, you had the 255 on yours, that's okay. I was like,
Is it 225?
it's
It's
225.
225,
Oh,
yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Good catch. All right. A few things to sign. You have
We-
item 6 on your list, I believe.
Oh, just to bring you up to date, I asked Ed Sorrow, our IT fellow, to work up a password for each one of the 5 Chromebooks so that I can email each one of those email accounts that correlates with the Chromebook, any documents that we want to have for each meeting. On one of them, I just opened up an account using my own account. But in order to do that, I'd have to tell everybody what the password was.
Yeah.
So I can't do it that way. So I have to have a password for each one. And it can be a simple one, but it would only be used for the
Password.
meetings. And we can quickly download the
Yeah.
documents that way. He was on vacation when I first contacted him, and I've been busy, so I haven't been able to meet with him during the day. Today I attended a stormwater workshop with the EPA up in Wellesley. They have a beautiful municipal DPW, engineering, all those things. It's beautiful up there.
And Wellesley.
In Wellesley, but that's Wellesley.
Exactly.
So I hope to have that resolved for our next meeting, and also have an update on 225 South Street for everybody. We don't have anything to sign on 102 West Center because that was continued tonight. We did close the 457 South Main, but we'll sign the order conditions at the next meeting. So the only 2 things we have is,
Frank can't sign
Yeah.
it, so that one's gonna come back.
Oh, is that?
Nope, that's okay.
That's for you.
Yeah, Brian, take it.
The things we're signing are the warrant items that we have.
How much more do you want?
and it appears,
I'll add another 0.
it appears Kitty's given us a different Burns in the family here, not
Oh,
the
I
conventional spelling on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
But
As long as
The-
checks me out.
the reimbursement one is correct. And we have Hub Tech for the Chromebooks, and I was bragging about it with other conservation people, and they said, wow, that was a good price for each one of those. So we got I
Yeah,
thought we got a
agreed.
good deal, even though we had to wait forever.
They were
And when you
here.
said
They
they
were
were
here.
coming, they had come when you were gonna check into that?
They
Yeah,
were
they
here.
were here.
They were stuck in the
They were
server
stuck in the
room.
service room, yeah, the whole time.
So how was the MAC conference?
It was good. Not from the
What'd you
What'd you have
think?
for lunch?
Same, John?
cold cuts, possibly good lunch.
I thought it was, I can't go to one without learning something new, even on
Sure.
old topics. So
Yeah.
it's well worth the time and effort to go. As my report indicates, we were kind of sitting in his driveway debating whether we should really go up or not, because
Oh, because of the weather.
Well,
because of
Yeah.
Out and everything.
Yeah.
the weather and our significant others manning the generators back at home and so forth.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that I've been up to a MAC conference when there was no snow in the parking lots, no banks, no snow banks, and nothing falling either the day while we're driving up or the day before. It was even partly sunny at times, and you could almost, I wouldn't have probably liked it by the time I got from the Hogan Center down to the dining facility. But I started out without my coat on. And then I asked Ryan to hold my stuff so I could put it on, because just like almost every year, there's a wind that goes with being up on the hill like that. But it was a pleasant day.
A lot of people.
Kind of songs you sing on the way up.
Oh, and that is true. We kind of thought that, maybe there's going to be 60 people up there. The place was packed, so
Did they bring in other chairs from one of the classes I went to?
Survivalists.
Yeah, the weather didn't affect them.
the weather wasn't going to stop, and so we didn't wimp out, and the significant others did a good job.
Persevere.
So, did you feel guilty?
A little bit, but did okay.
Thank you for going, guys.
Enjoyed it.
Anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moving second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Whoopee.
And we're done. Thank you.
Is it 8?